What's up, y'all? Devon here again for Obligatory, and we do a weekly music news segment on this channel every single Friday. And today's format is going to be a little different. We have 3 quick news stories to get through, but also 5 new releases and 5 new album announcements that I just had to share with y'all this week, among many other things that came out or were talked about this week. So we're going to try to fit it all in. We'll start with the news here because those were the quick stories, and we can start with Baby Keem, who continues to tease this upcoming album, Child with Wolves. This week's update came directly from Baby Keem. I think the most interesting thing that we saw was we caught a video of him actually recording and in the studio and in a recording session, which realistically he could be recording for anything, right? If he's recording music for this album, then I think that really gives us a nod to the potential timeline of when we're actually going to hear this thing, which recording an album is a long process. Putting those songs together, mixing and mastering everything, sequencing the album is just the start before you begin to roll this thing out, or at least plan when you're going to actually release the thing. And if you're someone who's looking out for this album and can't wait to hear it, I would just say maybe it's going to take a little while, but it's coming. It's coming soon. Another really quick story this week regards JPEGMAFIA, who, to be honest, has been saying and tweeting and deleting lots of things this week, but we'll highlight one of the tweets that's, at least at this point, still standing, where he's recently said that a Death Grips feature is going to be on his new album. Certainly some overlap in their fan bases, so I know a lot of people will be excited to hear this. That is another thing to look forward to in this so far unnamed album without a release date. Peggy did give a pretty firm update on the album at the beginning of the year, saying he was really close to dropping it. He's still tweaking it. So I feel like it's just around the corner here. It feels like one of these albums that's going to get announced and then it's going to be out pretty quick soon after. So I'm hoping we don't have to wait too long. And finally, our last story we're going to talk about closes a pretty important chapter in hip-hop's history, as 2 men have been found guilty in the 2002 killing of Run DMC's DJ Jam Master Jay. So this verdict comes at the end of a 4-week trial of the convicted triggerman and an armed accessory. There is a third person who will be tried in 2026, and this person was the one who unlocked the fire escape that allowed them to get up into the room that Jam Master Jay was in. And the more you look into this thing, the sadder it really gets, because the trigger person, the person that killed Jam Master Jay, was his godson, and the armed accessory was also a former friend of Jam Master Jay. And this all took place as a retaliation against Jam Master Jay for cutting them out of a significant drug deal. And this is another thing that I really didn't know about this case at all. And that's kind of where this all stems from. And again, as I said, incredibly sad. In a figure in hip-hop, a very important one with Run DMC that was just gone way too soon. So those are the news stories for the week. We're going to move right into new releases and editors' picks from this week of new releases. Right up on your screen, we have a whole slew of albums, EPs, and singles that dropped this week that we're pretty excited about. And this isn't the whole slate of new releases. We post that on Obligatory's Instagram account. These are just kind of the select picks and things that we thought were interesting and certainly recommend to you checking out. All of these are listed down in the description. All of these YouTube links you see are posted down there as well if you want to navigate yourself. But let's get into the top 5 new releases that I want to talk about today. The first being what you all clicked on the cover to see, and that is ScHoolBoy Q's Blue Lips dropped today. This, for me, was absolutely my most anticipated album of the year so far. And at this point, I only have raw thoughts from listening once last night, but here's my take. ScHoolBoy Q is saying he's back in love with this shit, and I believe him 100%. Now, taking us back to 2019's Crash Talk, it really isn't a bad album by any means, but going back, it does kind of feel like something's missing. It does kind of feel like someone who's new to sobriety and new to fatherhood, and previously for a long time made music about very different topics. Now with this album, like it, love it, or hate it, and I really do like it, ScHoolBoy Q is trying things and bringing the kind of energy and style of creativity that really only he is known for. And for that reason, he sounds super engaged on this album and like his old self in many ways, while also, and this is the important part here, comfortably being today's person that has evolved greatly since then. And that's kind of my spiel on that album. We can move on to number 2, which is Faye Webster's Underdressed at the Symphony. And if you know me, you know I hold Faye Webster's I Know I'm Funny, Ha Ha in very high regard and very near and dear to my heart. Underdressed at the Symphony is a very worthy follow-up, and I have to recommend it. Now, her singing and songwriting style, I'd say, is the thing that's not for everyone, but the music, I think, really is. This album continues her trends of the seriously lush and beautifully designed blends of soft rock and indie pop, with inflections of alternative country and just awesome instrument play behind her at pretty much every step. If you already know that you don't really like Faye Webster, then this probably won't be the project to move you, but if you haven't listened to her yet, then check it out. And then a couple singles worth highlighting as well, as they signal some new projects on the way that we should be excited about. The first being Charli XCX, releasing a new single titled Von Dutch. Now, as we've mentioned in recent episodes, Charli XCX's 6th studio album is coming soon, and it was announced this week that her album would be titled Brat. Now, we don't have an official release date for that album just yet. Probably get it soon, but as of now, we have a single with a music video. This track definitely makes good on her promises of a more rave or club-inspired album, which kind of takes her back to her early days of making her name known. And then finally, we've also been covering Richie's new solo music as of late. He is the lead vocalist of the group By Storm, formerly known as Injury Reserve. He dropped the first single 2 weeks ago, and now we are getting a new track featuring Amine. And we are getting an album soon. It has officially been announced. The album is titled Triple Digits 112, and it's coming April 5th. He also announced some worldwide tour dates throughout the summer, and so once all that is done, maybe we can be on the path towards the debut By Storm project coming out. Before we cut to the other album announcements, I have a couple bonus things that you should definitely look out from this week of releases. And of course, I gotta throw in the new Jahari Massamba Unit album for anyone willing to go into a little bit of jazz funk from Madlib and Karriem Riggins, who are two guys that I love just about everything that they do, so better believe I'm tapping in. And then Tizo Touchdown's cover of Talking Heads' Making Flippy Floppy was the second single released ahead of the Talking Heads Stop Making Sense tribute album, and it's so good. If you haven't heard the first single as well, that is Paramore doing Burning Down the House. Also awesome. And then finally, Lil Yachty is kind of everywhere right now, and this week his collab with Fred Again and Over Mono has dropped. And it's just kind of one of those things you might just want to hear. Try it out. Now, on to our albums announced this week. I would say there were some really awesome ones. We did mention Richie's new album is coming. But for my jazz heads out there, I gotta also throw in Shabaka Hutchings' new album has finally been announced, with some crazy features, like a really awesome guest list that we're going to get into here. The album is titled Perceive Its Beauty, Acknowledge Its Grace. It's coming April 12th via Impulse. Shabaka is mainly known for his saxophone music, but if you've been following us for a while, we covered last year his announcement that he planned to retire the saxophone and disband a lot of the groups that he was in. So all of that has been said and done, and now we are getting this album, which will be primarily built out of woodwinds and flute-type instruments. And like I said, the guest list on this thing, the features on this thing look amazing. From Andre 3000, who we know just released New Blue Sun and is doing flute music in his own right, to Moses Sumney, Floating Points, Elucid of Arm & Hammer, Esperanza Spalding, Leanne La Havas, and like a lot of really, really great names on here. You can listen to the first track, the new single from this album titled End of Innocence. It does have a music video. It is listed in the description, and that's just one for the real ones. You gotta check this out. And then Mdu Mokhtar also announced a new album, and this is someone in a band in our Black Indian Hardcore Bands video. Now, he and their band is a little bit different than a lot of the bands we included on that list. They make a form of Tuareg rock, which is like a North African, Middle Eastern psych rock. They're really great, and their 2021 album, Afrique Victime, is fantastic. You should hear it if you haven't, and this could potentially be a great follow-up to it, titled Funeral for Justice, coming May 3rd through Matador Records. Sia is another artist we haven't heard from in quite some time, and her new album, Reasonable Woman, has been announced to release on May 3rd as well. Her album is going to have features from Shaka Khan to Tierra Whack and Paris Hilton and many others. And in recent years, she has done some things like a movie soundtrack, a Christmas album, a supergroup album with Labyrinth and Diplo. But this new album is really going to be that first major follow-up to 2016's This Is Acting. Also, a new St. Vincent album, All Born Screaming, is coming April 26th. And then next week, we're getting what should be a really nice underground West Coast sample-based album in Jay Worthy and London Drugs releasing Affiliated 2. Now, I mentioned this because I like the first Affiliated project. Collaborators show up on every single track. There were some really great features throughout the project, and I'm assuming Affiliated 2 is going to have a similar idea going for it. And then albums releasing next week look pretty solid as well, highlighted by Ariana Grande's Eternal Sunshine, the Jay Worthy album I mentioned, Gene Dawson's Boo-Hoo, a new War Mother album, a new Bleachers album, and more. There are some pretty huge albums still on the docket for the rest of the year. Obviously, as we get closer, more stuff's going to get announced, and this year so far looks great. This year so far has been great for music releases, and I kind of wonder what y'all think about that as we close the show here. What were your favorite releases from today? I thought this week was the biggest week of new releases of the year so far. What are your favorite projects of the year so far? What are you most looking forward to for the rest of the year? let us know down in the comments section. We'll be down there talking with you. You could also check out our Black History Month content. We did mention the Black indie and hardcore bands list that we put out, as well as a list about our favorite hip-hop albums from 2020 to 2024 that we think are giving hip-hop a bright future. If you haven't seen those, they are very good. I'm very proud of them. Please check them out. And that's really all we have for this week. So thanks for watching, and we do this video every single week. So I'll be here again next Friday to bring you the news. And until then, thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Peace out.